Good morning, everyone. Today we are discussing slide discussion for paraganglioma. Introduction. A paraganglioma is basically a rare neuroendocrine neoplasm arising from a paraganglion, and it is a WHO grade 1 tumor. But then, what is a paraganglion? A paraganglion is a group of non-neuronal cells derived from the neural crest. They are named for being generally in close proximity to sympathetic ganglia. They can be of two types, either chromaffin type or sympathetic paraganglia, or non-chromaffin type, that is parasympathetic ganglia. And the chromaffin types are endocrine have endocrine functions, and the non-chromaffin type have chemoreceptor functions. We can see them in these two photos here. The first photo, that is the photo on the left, we can see that this is a paraganglia, paraganglion, for example, in a prostate needle biopsy. And we can see here this entire unit is in close proximity to this nerve bundle here, and the cells are hyperchromatic, and some of them have clear cytoplasm or an amphiphilic cytoplasm. Similar characteristics we can see in the picture on the right, that is a paraganglia of the gallbladder wall. They are composed of cells with clear or amphiphilic cytoplasm. They'll have hyperchromatic nuclei and prominent vascular pattern, as we can see in both the pictures here, and they are closely associated with the nerve. uh, and the clusters will have hyperchromatic nuclei with inconspicuous nucleoli. So terminology and epidemiology. Terminology, it is generally based on the anatomic site. That is, they will be called either carotid body paraganglioma or a jugulotympanic paraganglioma or a spinal paraganglioma. Pheochromocytoma term is exclusively reserved for tumor that a histologically identical tumor that will arise in the adrenal medulla. That is, paraganglioma of adrenal medulla is called pheochromocytoma. Epidemiology. The spinal paraganglioma, 3.5% of tumors occur in the chorda equina or phylum terminal region. Jugulotympanic paraganglioma, it is the second most common tumor of the temporal bone. It occurs in 5th to 6th decade of life. The spinal paraganglioma shows male predilection, and jugulotympanic paraganglioma shows strong female predilection. Sites. About 85% of paragangliomas develop in the abdomen, 12% in chest, and 3% in head and neck. While most are single, there are rare cases where multiple paragangliomas may occur. The paragangliomas are described by their site of origin and are often given special names. For example, head and neck paraganglioma. There are various types of head and neck paraganglioma, and they may have specialized names depending on the precise location. The carotid paraganglioma, it is the most common of the head and neck paragangliomas. It usually presents as a painless neck mass, but larger tumors may cause cranial nerve palsies, usually of the vagus nerve and hypoglossal nerve. We also have glomus tympanicum and glomus jugulare, also known as jugulotympanic paraganglioma, both commonly present as a middle ear mass resulting in tinnitus in 80% patients and hearing loss in 60% patients. The cranial nerves of the jugular foramen may be compressed, resulting in swallowing difficulty or ipsilateral weakness of the upper trapezius and sternocleidomastoid muscles. We also have organ of Zucker-Kandel, a collection of paraganglia near the bifurcation of aorta comprising a small mass of neuroclast-driven chromaffin cells, and these serve as a common origin for abdominal paragangliomas. We also have vagal paraganglioma. These are the least common of the head and neck paragangliomas. They usually present as a painless neck mass but may result in dysphagia and hoarseness. We also have pulmonary paraganglioma. They occur in the lung and can be single or multiple. Other sites include pharyngeal sinus, thyroid gland, nasal cavity, larynx, thoracic inlet, as well as bladder in extremely rare cases. So this picture here is a summary showing all the various places where paragangliomas can occur. We obviously have adrenal paraganglioma, which is also called pheochromocytoma. But apart from that, when we consider extraadrenal paraganglioma, we have carotid body, vagal paragangliomas, nasopharyngeal paragangliomas, laryngeal paragangliomas. We have jugulotympanic, we have chorda equina paraganglioma, we have pulmonary or cardiac paraganglioma, and all of them will show Zell-Balin pattern. Clinical features. Most paragangliomas are either asymptomatic or present as a painless mass. While all contain neurosecretory granules, only 1 or 3% of cases will show symptoms due to increased secretion of hormones such as catecholamines. In that case, the manifestations often resemble those of pheochromocytoma. For example, in case of pheochromocytoma of the patient, and spinal paragangliomas will present with low back pain, sciatica, and jugulotympanic paraganglioma, with especially with intracranial extension, they will present with tinnitus and hearing loss. Now we'll discuss the histopathological features. First, gross features we'll see. The paragangliomas appear as grossly as sharply circumscribed polypoid masses, and they have a firm to rubbery consistency. They are highly vascular tumors and therefore will have a deep red color. In the photo here, we are seeing a cauda equina paraganglioma. We can see here that they are sharply circumscribed polypoid mass with a rubbery consistency. We can also consider mediastinal paragangliomas. They also have firm surface, firm red, pink to brown surface. Hemorrhage and necrosis will be seen. They may be partially capsulated. As seen in the photo here, the mediastinal paraganglioma is having a cut surface, which is having bulging peripheral portion and a somewhat fibrotic center. Also, we should consider jugulotympanic paragangliomas, but they are usually not received intact and they are soft with typical red-brown cut surface. We also should discuss pulmonary paraganglioma, as they can be solitary or multiple, and they are usually peripheral masses, and they are round to lobulated. They are well circumscribed and may show an infiltrating border. For example, in this photo here, I'm sorry. For example, in this photo here, we can see that the this is a left upper lobectomy specimen dissected along the lingular bronchial plane, and it demonstrates a multilobulated whitish mass indicated by the arrowheads here. And also, I am highlighting it for you. We can see this mass here, and the whitish mass within a dilated left upper lobar bronchus, and this mass is extending along the lingular segmental bronchus, as we can see here. We can see this extension here. So, lastly, there are few more pictures to give us a summary of the various gross presentations of paraganglioma. We have a periaortic paraganglioma, we have a bladder paraganglioma, we have a parapharyngeal paraganglioma, we have a retroperitoneal paraganglioma, and all of them we can see are having a reddish cut surface, which a fleshy reddish cut surface, and all of them appear to be firm to rubbery in consistency. Finally, we'll discuss the microscopic features. Irrespective of the site of the tumor, paragangliomas always exhibit the following common features. First is obviously organoid pattern, that is also known as the Zell-Wallin pattern. Uh, Zell-Wallin pattern means there will be nests of the tumor cells or chief cells, and they will be surrounded by sustentacular cells. And these cell nests, they will be intervened with delicate capillary network. The chief cells will have round to oval nuclei with salt and pepper chromatin and no or mild endocrine atypia. The sustentacular cells are spindled and inconspicuous, and mostly they are visible only when seen under immunohistochemical stain. They may have low level mitotic activity and hemorrhagic necrosis can be seen. There may be variable amount of fibrosis, and 50% of mature ganglion cells may be seen. And also, there are some less common features, for example, carcinoid like features or melanotic or oncocytic paraganglioma like features may be noticed. We should consider these microscopic photos here. The first one we can see is the photo of a middle ear paraganglioma. The arrow here indicates the cuboidal epithelium lining of middle ear, and we can see in all the photos here, on microscopic inspection, the tumor cells, they can be readily recognized, and the individual tumor cells are polygonal to oval and are arranged in the Zell-Wallin pattern. All of them are having, as we can see, clear cytoplasm or amphophilic cytoplasm, and they are surrounded there, the cell nests, the each of the cell nests, as we can see here, they are separated by the fibrovascular intervening stroma, and they are also having the sustentacular cells, as we can see here, the spindle long appearing darker cells with peripheral over nuclei. All of these features are seen in all of these photos. Lastly, immunohistochemistry, the positive stains are chromogranin, synaptophasin, and S100 as seen in the photos included in this slide. Also, we have reticulin stain and variable vimentin positivity. Also, negative stains include keratin, EMA, HME45, desmin, and other myogenic markers, and also PAS and mucicarmine. All of these stains will be negative. For differential diagnosis, all we have to consider is that it being a middle ear mass, we have to differentiate it from acoustic neuroma, squamous cell carcinoma, melanoma, meningioma, middle ear adenoma, and other neuroendocrine tumors. But the most striking feature, that is Zell-Ballen pattern, will not be seen in any of these tumors, and therefore the diagnosis can easily be made. Thank you.